Welcome to Articulated, where we analyze action figures from paint to pivot. I'm Glenn.
I'm Eddie.
And this is an overview of the Marvel Legends MCU Molten Man wave. We'll be doing something a little different with this video. Unfortunately, we felt like the three figures left in this wave didn't deserve the articulated treatment due to bad design decisions, so we'll just take a brief look at each figure and where they fall flat.
Spider-Woman, aka Julia Carpenter, first appeared as the second version of Spider-Woman in 1984's Secret Wars #7, created by writer Jim Shooter and artist Mike Zeck. She has very similar powers to Spider-Man, but instead uses a psionic force to create webbing and stick to walls in addition to her superhuman strength and agility. She would later take on prominent roles in the West Coast Avengers and Forceworks, before changing her name to Arachne and eventually becoming the next Madam Web.
The figure itself is based on her classic costume, which she kept for the first 2 decades of her existence. The character has appeared in the line once before in the 2006 MODOK series as a repainted variant to Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman. She comes with one accessory, an interchangeable Psy-Web shooting hand.
Honestly, she isn't a bad figure and is actually one of the characters I was most excited for in this wave. She makes a great addition to the West Coast Avengers shelf, or maybe a Spider-Man Allies shelf. The only real fault I have with her might be the awkward hair sculpt, but it's still serviceable. Otherwise, she's on the Kate Bishop body that has been used relentlessly since its initial release. The default female body, like how the Bucky Cat Buck has become the default male body. They're still great bucks. I just wish there was a little more variety. We would personally give this figure a score of 5 out of 10.
Doppelganger, aka Doppelganger, was created by Doppelganger, aka Doppelganger, was created by Jim Starlin and artist Ron Lim in 1992's The Infinity War #1. The only one of his kind to stick around, he was originally created alongside a series of other twisted copies of iconic heroes by the villainous Magus, a doppelganger himself of Adam Warlock. Doppelganger possesses all the same powers as Spider-Man, along with 4 additional arms, talons on each of his appendages, and razor-sharp teeth. He's best known for being the pet or surrogate son of Carnage and Shriek during the Maximum Carnage storyline from 1993.
The figure itself is seemingly based on his classic appearance with no real era-defining features. This is the first and probably the last time Doppelganger has appeared in the Marvel Legends line, even though I'm already desperate for a redo.
Despite being the worst figure of the wave and the worst figure in the line since 6-armed Spider-Man, he's kinda grown on me. Obviously, the torso is atrocious for the lack of articulation and a disgrace of the Marvel Legends line. The decision just screams laziness, as we've seen a 6-armed character in this line before with Spiral, created by Hasbro. And yet, if you get him in the right pose, he works surprisingly okay. I hated the reuse of what looks like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 mold when they did it with 6-armed Spider-Man, but the recessed lines actually work for Doppelganger. The spider suit is supposed to be his skin, right? So having web lines carved into the figure makes it a little more menacing. But that doesn't excuse the complete lack of painted detail, similar to the MCU upgraded suit from this same wave. After a nice black wash, I think he'll be adequate enough to stick in the Spider-Man villains display. We would personally give this figure a score of 2 out of 10. Molten Man, aka Mark Raxton, was created by writer Stan Lee and artist Steve Ditko in 1965's The Amazing Spider-Man #28. His skin is composed of a frictionless alien metal alloy that gives him superhuman strength, durability, and energy projection through intense heat. Though he doesn't run as hot as a character like the Human Torch, he's still pretty crispy to the touch.
The figure itself is based on a version of a character that appeared in the 2019 movie Spider-Man Far From Home. The character really only appears in name only, as the Molten Lava Monster design draws the most inspiration from a group of characters called the Elementals of Doom, which made their first appearance in 1981's Fantastic Four #282. This is the first time Molten Man has made an appearance in the Marvel Legends line, and hopefully not the last. With Spider-Man themed waves slowly running out of Spider-Man related characters, we hope to see him pop up in his classic form soon.
For whatever reason, overly asymmetrical action figures really bother me, and this figure is no different. It reminds me of that god-awful Parallax Collect and Connect figure from the equally terrible Green Lantern movie that clogs the bins of every single action figure reseller store. I'll bet in a couple of years this figure will be Parallax 2.0, but to give them credit, it's at least somewhat accurate.
Most of the figure is cast in a semi-translucent orange and then heavily dry brushed with a metallic gold. In practice, it looks more like Golgothan, the shit demon. While technically the sculpt is fair and the paint application itself is well done, the articulation is hindered due to the weird proportions. When posing, the left arm likes to throw everything off balance, potentially causing a tumble if the figure isn't held up with a stand.
Ultimately, I can't recommend this figure, especially if you're throwing down the $120+ it will take to build him. This figure has actually contributed to the decision that we will no longer be covering MCU-based figures unless they're part of a comic wave. It's just too damn expensive, especially when our personal collections are mostly comic-based. We would personally give this figure a score of 3 out of 10.
With all the scores combined, we award this wave a 5 out of 10. Overall, pretty middle of the road.
I'm a bit biased towards classic comic figures, so characters like Scorpion, Hydra Man, and Spider-Woman get high marks from me, but the MCU figures are interesting enough. If I had to rank them from worst to best, I'd say Doppelganger comes in dead last. The Molten Man Bath comes in 7th, Upgrade Suit comes 6th, Spider-Woman 5th, Stealth Suit 4th, Mysterio 3rd, Hydra Man a close 2nd, and Scorpion as the best of the wave. You really can't beat classic costumes with dedicated sculpts.
My list is almost exactly the same, except I would switch Doppelganger in 7th and Molten Man taking dead last. Thanks for watching.
Let us know how you like this format for figures we can't dedicate full reviews to. Let us know in the comments.
If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, and if you want to see more from us, make sure to hit that subscribe button.
You can also follow us on Instagram and Reddit at Articulated Show. I'm Glenn.
I'm Eddie.
And this is Articulated.